Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Von Kleist, and these are the WTF Reports. All right, welcome to the WTF Reports. And again, I'm your host, Dave Von Kleist, here with news and information they hope and pray you never hear. And if that news and information makes you exclaim, WTF, what the freak is going on here? And for those of you who are offended by that, well, you can think of it as with the facts. Anyway, this is a new endeavor here. We're making video now instead of just putting out an audio. And by the way, the audio is heard worldwide on the Red State Talk Radio network, RedStateTalkRadio.com. And it's also archived at our website, TheWTFReports.com. Well, let's see. The question of the day is, are they trying to kill us? Seriously, are they trying to kill us? That's the question. Now, we look at what's going on in this world today. We know our water is screwed up. We know our food is screwed up. We know the soil is screwed up. We know the air is screwed up. And we know our health system is screwed up. And you could add a whole bunch of other screwed up things. But I want to see if we can't dig a little deeper into this question on whether or not they're trying to kill us. So I have to just tell you a little bit of my personal background. I woke up, to use that phrase, about 35 years ago during the first Gulf War. And in the 70s, I have to go back even further, I remember a book had come out, and it was called Depopulation Bomb. It was released in 1968. I became aware of it in the 70s. And The Population Bomb was written by Paul Ehrlich. And here it says The Population Bomb was a 1968 book co-authored by former Stanford University professor Paul R. Ehrlich and former Stanford senior researcher in conservation biology Ann Ehrlich. Now, the whole concept of this book was, of course, that there are just too doggone many people. And this is a philosophy that's been going on. I mean, we've all heard about eugenics, et cetera, et cetera. And it was also echoed in something called the Georgia Guidestones. Now, the Georgia Guidestones, let's go back to the browser here. The Georgia Guidestones was a granite monument that stood in Elbert County, Georgia, in the United States from 1980 until 1922. It was almost 20 feet tall. It was 19 feet 3 inches tall. It was made from 6 granite slabs, and they were all vertical here. You could see here there were 4 of them, north, south, east, and west. And they were etched in granite on each face of these granite slabs in 8 different languages. Now, the 8 different languages, of course, one of which was England. Let's take a look at the first tenet on the Georgia Guidestones. Okay? Here, let's see, where was it? Oh, no, here it is. Bam, there it is. Bam, there it is. Okay, the first tenet right here says maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. That sounds lovely, doesn't it? So let's do the math. 500 million is a half a billion. Now, the current perception is that our world population is over 8 billion now. It's 8.2 or something like that. So that would mean, let's just go by 8 billion. So that would mean 7.5 billion people are going to have to vacate the premises. Now let that sink in for a little bit. So the question is, are they going to try to kill us all? Okay. Well, like I said, it was literally etched in stone that this was the goal of whoever. And we're not really sure who was behind the erection of these Georgia Guidestones. But they do echo the sentiment that the globalist agenda here is to drastically lower the world population. Now, about 10, 11 years ago, you may recall, some of you have seen this video clip of Bill Gates. Let's check it out.
Now, the world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
They're saying that he said they could possibly lower the population by 10 or 15% if we do a really good job with the vaccines. Okay? Well, this sentiment was also echoed by the Prime Minister of Malaysia. And again, this goes back about, this was in 2015, I believe it was. And again, he was the Prime Minister Mahathir. Mahathir, excuse me. And again, this was in 2015. He made the following statement.
Because the intention also is to reduce the number of people in this world. At the time when the New World Order was enunciated, the population of this world was only 3 billion. The intention was to reduce it to 1 billion. Now the population of the world is 7 billion. There will be a need to kill many billions of people or to starve them to death or to prevent them from giving birth in order to reduce the population of this world. This is what is in store for most. For those who will suffer and die, there will be the peace of the grave.
Yeah, there will be the peace of the grave. Yeah, it sounds so peaceful, doesn't it? Well, after that statement was made, you've all heard of Jane Goodall. Well, Jane Goodall had the following to say, and we're going to do a little search on this. I had it up there before, but accidentally closed that tab, so we'll do a little search afterwards. But here's what Jane Goodall had to say in regard to the world population.
We cannot hide away from human population growth because, it underlies so many of the other problems. All these things we talk about wouldn't be a problem if there was the size of population that there was 500 years ago.
Okay, she wanted to see what the world population was 500 years ago. So let's do a little search. I'm going to go back to the browser here, and we're going to search world population in 1500. Okay, that's going back about 500 years. Let's see here. Here it is. Population by country in 1500. So she said we should go back to the population of about 1500 years ago. So let's see here. Let me see. Is this the one I want? No, that's not the one I want. I wanted a different one here. Let's see. Here it is. World population in 1500. Here it is. World population. Let's see here. It was... Oh, fudgeroonies. Well, trust me. It was about 500 million. Okay, you could do your own search on that. But I found that was rather coincidental that she would say we should go back to the world population of about 500 years ago, and it just so happens to be 500 million, 500 million people. So now we're going to get real interesting here. Again, the question is, they obviously have a goal of lowering the population drastically. So how are they going to do this? Well, let's listen to Albert Bourla. And Albert Bourla, let me see, where is that one here? Here it is. Now listen carefully to what he says here, and I'm going to play this a couple times so you catch this.
I think that it's really a fulfillment of a dream that we had together with my leadership team when we started in 19. The first week we met in January of 19 in California and to set up the goals for the next 5 years. And one of them was by 2023 we will reduce the number of people in the world by 50%. I think today this dream is becoming reality.
And they were applauding that. Now again, he said that they had a meeting in January of 2019. Now, let's take a look at, you ever hear of Event 201? Now, he said they had this meeting in January of 2019. In Event 201 right here, it says Event 201 was a 3.5-hour pandemic tabletop exercise held on October 18th of 2019. Now remember, Borla said that they met in January of 2019, and the goal was to reduce the world population by 50%. Now you can follow up and do your own research into what Event 201 was and put the puzzle pieces together. So if he had a meeting back in January of 2019. Again, here.
I think that it's really a fulfillment of a dream that we had together with my leadership team when we started in 19. The first week we met in January of 19 in California and to set up the goals for the next 5 years. And one of them was by 2023, we will reduce the number of people in the world by 50%. I think today this dream is becoming reality.
I think today the dream is becoming reality, and they all applauded that. Well, I want to share with you a book. Let's see here. I've got this. Okay, here we go. This book is called Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper. Now, William Cooper was a Navy intelligence guy. And on page 167, I'm going to share with you what it says here. Several top secret recommendations were made by Dr. Aurelio Pecci of the Club of Rome. Listen to this. He advocated that a plague be introduced that would have the same effect as the famous Black Death of history. The chief recommendation was to develop a microbe which could attack the autoimmune system and thus render the development of a vaccine impossible. The orders were given to develop a microbe and to develop a prophylactic and a cure. The microbe would be used against the general population and would be introduced by vaccine. The prophylactic was to be used by the ruling elite. The cure would be administered to the survivors when it is decided that enough people had died. The cure would be announced as newly developed when in fact it had existed from the beginning. This plan is part of Global 2000. The prophylactic and the cure are suppressed. This rather interesting, don't you think? And also, if you haven't seen this book, by the way, I really highly recommend that everybody should have a copy of this because it is loaded with documentation. As a matter of fact, if you flip through it, you will see that there are copies of documents, lots and lots of documents, lots of receipts, okay? One of which he referred to, and I've been aware of this for quite some time, was the Appropriations Bill from 1970, okay? It just so happens that I have a copy of it right here. The Appropriations Bill for 1970. Check this out. On page 129 of the Appropriations Bill, I read, it says, within a period of 5 to 10 years, it would be possible to produce a synthetic biological agent, an agent that does not naturally exist, and for which no natural immunity could be acquired. Ever hear of acquired immune deficiency syndrome? AIDS? Furthermore, down the page it says, within the next 5 to 10 years, it would probably be possible to make a new infective microorganism which could differ in certain important aspects from any known disease-causing organisms. Most important of these is that it might be refractory to the immunological and therapeutic processes upon which we depend to maintain our relative freedom from infectious disease. A research program to explore the feasibility of this could be completed in approximately 5 years at a total cost of $10 million. Further down the page, it goes on to say it is a highly controversial issue, and there are many who believe such research should not be undertaken, lest it lead to yet another method of massive killing of large populations. That was 1969, folks. They said they could possibly do it in 5 years at a cost of $10 million. Well, they received the $10 million. And about 5 years later, the WHO, the World Health Organization, began a vaccination campaign in Haiti, Africa, and San Francisco. Coincidentally, a couple of years after that, AIDS showed up in Haiti, Africa, and San Francisco. You connect the dots. I'm just providing you the puzzle pieces. It's up to you to connect the dots. So, are they really trying to kill us? Well, there was a gentleman, I don't know who this guy is, but on social media, he posted the following scenario, and it seems to make a lot of sense. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, this is all conspiracy theory. However, if it's actually happening right in your face, how could it possibly be a theory at all? It may actually be a conspiracy. And that's the whole point of this broadcast, is to provide you with the necessary information, the receipts, the documentation, the video clips, so that you can make an informed decision. You can't make any type of decision. You can't make an informed decision without information. And that's what the whole point of this is. So here's a little bit of a scenario.
Everyone thinks the future is about innovation, AI, smart cities, green energy, but that's the cover story. The real future is about reducing the human surplus without a single bullet fired. And the system that is being built makes it look like progress. In the old world, humans were assets. More people meant more labor, more soldiers, more taxpayers. But technology flipped the equation. When automation does the work, people become liabilities. They consume resources and they produce nothing. From a corporate state perspective, they are dead weight on the balance sheet. Now, what happens to liabilities in any system? They are minimized, quietly, efficiently. You don't announce population reduction. You don't draft policies that say, time to eliminate 800 million people. You design the environment so people self-select out of life. First, you control food economics. Make real nutrition a luxury. Flood markets with synthetic hyper-processed calories. Why? Cheap to make, addictive to consume, and lethal over time. Obesity, diabetes, cancers. It's slow-motion euthanasia disguised as personal choice. And then you privatize survival systems. Hospitals, medicine, insurance. Turn health into a product, and when the bill comes and you can't pay, nature takes its course. No violence, no fingerprints. Meanwhile, you flood culture with distractions. War headlines, influencer drama, ideological cage matches, so no one notices the algorithm that decides who thrives and who quietly disappears. People think they are arguing politics, but in reality, they are debating inside the zoo enclosure, while the zookeeper holds the keys to their lifespan. This isn't genocide. It is market-driven selection, a corporate Darwinism where the unprofitable simply phase out. And the punchline? They don't kill you. They invoice you until you die. This is the most profitable extinction in human history, and is happening in slow motion while everyone thinks they are free.
It's happening in slow motion. Yeah, it's sort of like boiling the frog. You ever hear that? You know, you try to throw a frog into hot water, he'll try to jump out. But if you throw him into cold water and put the pot on the stove, he'll never jump out. Well, that's what's happening to the human population right now, because it's happening so slowly and so incrementally that people aren't even noticing. Like I said, I became aware of this 50 years ago, like I said, in the 1970s. So this is a goal that's been around for a long, long time. And as Bill Cooper referred to it, it was Agenda 2020, or Agenda 2000, excuse me. They wanted to get this rolling a whole lot sooner than it's happening. And then it became Agenda 2020. Now it's Agenda 2030. So they've had to push their goalposts back a couple of times, and hopefully they'll do it again, because a lot of folks all over the world are now waking up to this globalist agenda to eliminate huge numbers of the world population. And again, there's many different ways it can do it. Of course, there's war, and of course, we've got a war going on right now, as always. And then, of course, there's famines, okay? And there's plenty of that going around in certain, can you spell Gaza? And then, of course, there's diseases and epidemics, or plandemics. Anyway, speaking of, I want to share with you a video clip rather, that was taken at a recent dinner where Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was speaking a little bit about this vaccine, or hokey pokey thingy dingy as I like to call it. Here's Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
The genetic structure, genetic differentials among different races of the receptors, of the ACE2 receptor. COVID-19 is targeted to attack Caucasians and black people. The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese. But we don't know whether it was deliberately targeted that or not. But there are papers out there that show the racial and ethnic differential impact to that. We do know that the Chinese are spending hundreds of millions of dollars developing ethnic bioweapons, and we are developing ethnic bioweapons. That's what all of those labs in the Ukraine are about. They're collecting Russian DNA, they're collecting Chinese DNA, so that we can target people.
Yeah, he referenced the bio labs in Ukraine. All right. He also mentioned that the hokey pokey thingy dingy was designed to target Caucasians and black people, and yet use Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese as most resistant. Now, I find this very interesting because years ago, back in the 90s, about 30 years ago, when I was married to and working with my wife, Joyce Riley, she and I were traveling all over the country trying to find help for the Gulf War veterans from the first Gulf War who were exposed, yes, to chemicals, biologicals, experimental vaccines, pills, etc., etc. And as we traveled around the country to try to find these veterans some help, we spoke at churches, synagogues, community centers, American Legion posts, VFW posts, anywhere that we were invited to try to help the veterans, we went. And we didn't care about what their background is, or, if it was a church, I didn't care what kind of church or what kind of synagogue, because the diseases didn't care either. So when we traveled around the country, many times some of these veterans would come up and provide us with some very interesting documentation in a plain manila envelope. One of the documents that was handed to us was A Revolution in Military Affairs and Conflicts Short of War. Now, this is a very important document, and it's from the U.S. Army War College. It was written by Stephen Metz and James Cavett, and it was released in July 25th of 1994. Now, this document, A Revolution in Military Affairs and Conflict Short of War, was a scenario. It was a sketch, a plan, if you will, of how they could foment a revolution without firing a shot. And you heard about that a couple minutes ago. And how would you do this? Well, there are many different technologies that were at their disposal 30 years ago, actually 32 years ago. Well, of course, that's a long time ago. Now we have a whole bunch of different technologies. But using the technology that they had at that time, it's important that we take a look at a particular page. And that was, let me see if I can scroll through here. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, I got to grab this here. On page 9 of the document, let's see, here it is. Page 9 of the document. Right here it says, and remember what Robert F. Kennedy just said. He said that this hokey pokey thingy dingy was designed to attack Caucasians and blacks and leave Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese most resistant. So in this document, And again, this is page 9. And if you want to look it up and pull down the PDF online, you can do that. And it's in this document, it says page 15, but that's okay. Anyway, it says here, certain biotechnical weapons considered by some to violate the Biological Warfare Convention, to which the United States is a signatory, also may transgress American values regarding appropriate means. Most Americans would not support the use of a weapon designed to target only a specific racial or ethnic group in anything less than a war for survival of the nation. Could the government and military of this multi-ethnic republic face charges that it was developing or using a weapon targeting Africans, Jews, Koreans, Hispanics, etc.? Would defense against such a charge occupy the attention of policymakers to the detriment of other essential businesses? And even accidental injuries or deaths caused by non-lethal anti-material substances could be politically damaging. Yeah. Okay. So it's right there. They had this concept, a frowned upon concept, that they could be facing charges if they were developing a weapon that targeted specific multi-ethnic or racial groups. Well, that's what RFK was just talking about. Now, he also said that we have these biolabs all along the northern border of Ukraine. I think that there's, 33 or 34 of them? Victoria Nuland said that they weren't there, but now we know that they are. Now, how would you feel, Americans, if you found out that the Chinese had 30 or 35 biological laboratories just across the border in Canada? How would you feel about that? How would the Russians feel if they found out that the U.S. had biological laboratories functioning in northern Ukraine right along their border? Okay? Let's put the shoe on the other foot here. All right? So, let's see. Okay, I'm going to get back to this in just a second. I'm going to take a quick break. Here we go.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary.
And you can get more tank by visiting our website, TheWTFReports.com. If you click on the sponsors page, it'll take you down to an area where you can click on Get More Tank, and you can save 10% off because the price will be $20 with the promo code, and you'll get 5 tablets. And as I was just explaining, Get More Tank will save you money, save your engine, and save the earth because it's not a fuel additive. It's a fuel catalyst. You get 5 tablets in the package, which is $20. Your first application, you use 2 tablets, and then after that, it's 1 tablet per tank of gas. Now, right off the bat, you'll notice that when you hit the accelerator, your vehicle takes off. You get more power. And as it also is burning the gas more efficiently, which means it's a lot cleaner. So that's good for the environment. So you're going to say, and then the kicker is you're going to save money because after you run a few tanks, your engine will adjust to its new efficiency and you see increased mileage. Depending upon your make, model, and year of vehicle and your driving habits, you will enjoy anywhere between 15 and 20% better mileage. That means money in your pocket. So, by all means, there's Andy Stewart. He's the guy that brought it to the general population. It's been around for a long time. They've been using it in heavy industry and construction vehicles for many years, and it's just now, in the past couple of years, become available to the general public. So if you want to save the planet, save your engine, and save some money, go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, click on the sponsors page, and get more tank. Okay, these are the WTF reports. I'm Dave Von Kleist, and we are dealing with a question today. Are they trying to kill us? Well, it looks like, from what we've covered already, that there has been a very long-term plan to do just that. They want to reduce the population to a level where they can control everybody. So let's explore this a little bit more. Dr. Yaden, let me see, I've got that clip here. Where is it? There it is. Dr. Yaden has been very vocal about the plandemic since day one. Here's what he had to say about this, shall we say, the hokey pokey thingy dingy.
The mRNA products from Pfizer and Moderna, they wrap them in a vehicle, an excipient called lipid nanoparticles, with at least two problems. One is the lipid nanoparticles themselves have never been given to humans before. They do not have an authorization to administer them willy-nilly to the public. They don't have generally recognized as safe, or GRAS status. So each one of them should have been tested as if it was a new chemical entity, and they weren't. So the breaches of decades worth of regulation, left, right, and center, the criminal enterprise. But here's the other thing about lipid nanoparticles. Lipid nanoparticles have been used for years in research labs as a way of depositing big molecules into ovaries. So if you took this so-called mRNA and wrapped it in lipid nanoparticles and injected it to girls or women, my confident prediction was it would be disproportionately deposited in their ovaries. Why would anyone want to do that, ladies and gentlemen? Well, we know the answer, don't we? We now know the answer. And I ended up with about 4 or 5 ghastly certainties. I have a training in mechanistic toxicology, which is very unusual. So I have a good understanding of what it is about molecules if there are risks that would convey harms. So that's the skill I used, and decades of experience working in pharmaceuticals where the last thing you want to do is harm people. So if there are characteristics about the molecule that you think, oh, that could be a problem, then you would point it out before you've gone far in the project. So I'm afraid, armed with what I know, I am formally certain, and I will say, the injections that they pretended were vaccines were intentionally designed to injure, kill, and reduce fertility in survivors.
Okay, there are thousands of doctors all over the world that are no longer calling this a quote-unquote vaccine. They're calling it a biological weapon. Now, there are several different reasons for that. The mRNA technology is basically manipulating all of the people who receive this injection on a genetic level. And I remind you that legally, when you change the genetics of an organism, whether it be corn or lettuce or whatever, you become a GMO, a genetically modified organism, and you become the property of the company that injected you. Now, this mRNA technology is not a good thing, and you also may have heard him talk about the lipid particles. Now, there's a doctor who recently passed away, Dr. Ernst Burkholdt, and he had done a study on males who had received the hokey pokey thingy dingy. And he found that these lipid particles were replacing the sperm in the testes of those males who were vaccinated or hokey poked. Which means that when they have intimate relations with their partner, they were basically blasting their partner with lipid particles. Not good. And there's a Dr. Charles Hoff that elaborated on this, and I might want to share this video clip with you. Here's Dr. Charles Hoff.
Somebody emailed Jeffrey Epstein, and in the email, it says,
firstly, people need to realize what the agenda is. In 1990, the United Nations released something called Agenda 21, which was their agenda for what they wanted to have achieved worldwide by the year 2021. They've now, because we're past that, they've now released Agenda 2030, which is what the United Nations would like to have achieved by the year 2030. And one of the common factors in both of those agendas is the fact that they would like to see the world's population reduced to 500 million. Now, people have to realize that the World Health Organization is a branch of the United Nations. Just like the College of Physicians and Surgeons is a branch of public health. So the fact that so I had wondered how were they going to reduce the world's population from 8 billion to 500 million. That means you've got to get rid of 15 out of 16 people. Now, they didn't succeed by 2021, which was the second year of the pandemic, but they're aiming now for 2030, which is 5 years away. One of the strongest predictors of future behavior is past behavior. If you want to know, to try and predict how somebody is going to behave in the future, just look at what they did in the past. It's very reliable, unless there's some reason to believe that that person has been dramatically transformed, that we tend to do the same things again. So the World Health Organization has used vaccines 5 times before this pandemic to reduce fertility. And they did it in Brazil and Mexico and India and Kenya and one other country that I now can't think of. They did it in 5 countries. And in every case, they gave these people vaccines for some other reason to keep them safe. In Kenya, it was a tetanus vaccine, different vaccines in different places. And this was an injection to keep these people safe or their children safe, but was actually designed to reduce fertility. And I think these COVID vaccines are no different. The fact that they mandated these shots for university students, for school kids couldn't play sport, they couldn't go on school field trips. University students who had been, for example, studying medicine, you're 4 years in and you're told, unless you get these COVID shots, you're done. You forget it. Go and deliver pizzas. You will not be a doctor. And in other words, they forced young people for whom COVID was almost no risk to have a shot that had the worst safety record in human history. So you can think, well, so did they just make a mistake? Because there seems to be no benign explanation for that. We know that the shots didn't keep anyone safe because it didn't stop people getting COVID. So this idea that, well, you're putting other people at risk if you're unvaccinated was nonsense, because they knew by the time they mandated any of these things that these shots didn't stop transmission or infection. So they couldn't possibly keep anyone safe. So that reason was clearly fraudulent. So there was no other benign explanation for why these should be mandated for young people other than the fact that we knew from the Pfizer biodistribution study using the messenger RNA particles where they tested it on mice, they found that the ovaries were in the top 4 destinations for those spike proteins.
Yeah, the ovaries. Okay, so we've already discussed how Dr. Burkholt found lipid particles in the testes replacing the sperm. So what better way to lower the population than to destroy fertility? Okay, let's move on now to Dr. Peter McCullough. Here he is. And again, these are all doctors from all over the world, and they have been screaming from the rooftops to stop the mRNA technology with the graphene oxide and the lipid particles, et cetera, because they're not good for you. Here's Dr. Peter McCullough.
20% did not take a vaccine. The vaccine was never safe enough for me to take. Messenger RNA, devised by Pfizer and Moderna, has been chemically modified to be unassailable to enzymes in the body to be broken down. The messenger RNA is found in the human heart of people who die after the vaccine. It's found in the brain. The spike protein is found everywhere in the body. 3 studies now show the spike protein is circulating in the blood for 6 to 9 months after people take the shot. This part of the virus, the lethal part of the virus in the vaccinated, it's circulating in the blood. And then they take a booster, they get more circulating in the blood. It is a killer protein. It cannot be safe. It was not safe by design. Safety trumps efficacy. We cannot tolerate false drug claims. This is in the peer-reviewed literature. This is not misinformation.
No, it's not misinformation. For those of you who are saying that this is all conspiracy theory, I remind you that a conspiracy theory has no evidence to support it. That's why it's a theory. But when you have a piece of evidence, it becomes a possibility. And the more evidence that you gather, the more possible and eventually probable the conspiracy is. And when you've got doctors all over the world that are screaming from the rooftops, and yet your government, of course, which is in bed with the pharmaceutical companies, and the media, which is in bed with the pharmaceutical companies, all you have to do is watch your mainstream networks, CBS, NBC, ABC, and take note of how many commercials are for pharmaceutical products, and you'll understand who they're representing. Let's move on now to Dr. Hulscher, Nick Hulscher, and again, we're talking about fertility. What better way to eliminate huge numbers of people on this planet than to destroy the fertility? Here's Nick Hulscher.
Somebody emailed Jeffrey Epstein, and in the email, it said, I was thinking about what Bill Gates said, and then in quotes, how do we get rid of all the poor people? And so, it's very worrisome that was stated. And so, apparently Bill Gates was in communication with individuals on how to get rid of all poor people. And, I don't think that that's about, reducing poverty. I think that may have been reducing the population, because in a 2010 TED Talk, Bill Gates said in front of the world that he seeks to reduce the population by 10 to 15% using vaccines.
First, we've got population. Now, the world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Okay, yeah, that clip played again, but why not? Anyway, the point here is that we have got to somehow alert the rest of the population, somehow wake them up, because most people are paying attention to stuff that doesn't matter. I mean, right now is the World Cup, FIFA. Hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people all over the world screaming their brains out over something that doesn't matter. Okay, they're going to have a parade in New York for the New York Knicks because they won the NBA championship, and it doesn't matter. Football doesn't matter. Baseball doesn't matter. None of this stuff matters, but they're wonderful distractions for the population. And then you add to that the media, TV shows, movies, etc., etc. Keep the masses occupied and distracted while this garbage goes down. Anyway, back onto the issue about fertility. Naomi Wolf, bless her heart, she's been screaming in the rooftops too. And because it's not just the men who are affected by these lipid particles and destroying their fertility, but these lipid particles are destroying the eggs in women who get the hokey pokey thingy dingy. Here's Dr. Naomi Wolf.
It has been thoroughly proven from Pfizer's own documents that this is a murderous injection. People are not just going to get hurt, they're going to kill children. And that injection is an abortifacient. It causes miscarriages. There's a section in the Pfizer paper where 82% of the pregnancies that they followed in that section, not of the whole denominator, but of the pregnancies that they followed, over 80% of the women lost their babies. And now we know how it works. In the Pfizer documents, there's a pregnancy and lactation report showing 2 babies dying in utero and Pfizer concluded it was due to maternal exposure to the vaccine. So no, there is nothing okay about what RFK Jr., Jay Bhattacharya, Marty Makary have rolled out. There's no justification. There's no gray area. These have to be taken off the market now. And you're not going to have, any less in your toolkit to work with as a doctor because these aren't medicines.
No, they're not medicines. Now, I've given you enough information here to help you to understand that this is not to help you. This is to hurt you, and this is going to go on for generations to come. It's not a vaccine to keep you healthy. It is indeed a biological weapon. And as we all know, we've got real problems with our food, our water, the air, the soil, everything. Even the clothes you wear are toxic. So the question is this by design? Is this some sort of crazy conspiracy theory? Well, there's a document that's been floating around. Some people say it was written by John D. Rockefeller. Some folks say it was written by one of the Rothschilds or one of the globalist families. And frankly, I don't care who wrote it. I don't care where it came from. If it makes sense and it fits into the scenario that we're seeing right now, maybe there's some validity to this document. And I'm going to share it with you now. Let's see if I have enough time. I think so. It's called The Secret Covenant. And you can look it up. There's a PDF version on there. And if this doesn't give you chills, then you're brain dead. I read. An illusion, it will be so large, so vast, it will escape their perception. Those who will see it will be thought of as insane. We will create separate fronts to prevent them from seeing the connection between us. We will behave as if we are not connected to keep the illusion alive. Our goal will be accomplished one drop at a time, so as to never bring suspicion to ourselves. This will also prevent them from seeing the changes as they occur. We will also, we will always stand above the relative field of their experience, for we know the secrets of the absolute. We will work together always and will remain bound by blood and secrecy. Death will come to he who speaks. We will keep their lifespan short and their minds weak while pretending to do the opposite. We will use our knowledge of science and technology in subtle ways so they will never see what is happening. We will use soft metals, aging accelerators, and sedatives in the food and water, also in the air. They will be blanketed by poisons everywhere they turn. The soft metals will cause them to lose their minds. We will promise to find a cure from our many fronts, yet we will feed them more poison. The poisons will be absorbed through their skin and mouths. They will destroy their minds and reproductive systems. From all this, their children will be born dead, and we will conceal this information. The poisons will be hidden in everything that surrounds them, in what they drink, eat, breathe, and wear. We must be ingenious in dispensing these poisons, for they can see far. We will teach them that poisons are good, with fun images and musical tones. Those they look up to will help. We will enlist them to push our poisons. They will see our products being used in film and will grow accustomed to them and will never know their true effect. When they give birth, we will inject poison into the blood of their children and convince them it's for their help. We will start early on with their minds young. We will target their children and what children love most, sweet things. When their teeth decay, we will fill them with metals that will kill their mind and steal their future. When their ability to learn has been affected, we will create medicine that will make them sicker and cause other diseases for which we will create yet another medicine. We will render them docile and weak before us and our power. They will grow depressed, slow, and obese. And when they come to us for help, we will give them more poison. We will focus their attention toward money and material goods so they may never connect with their inner self. We will distract them with fornication, external pleasures, and games so that they may never be one with the oneness of it all. Their minds will belong to us and they will do as we say. If they refuse, we shall find ways to implement mind-altering technology into their lives. We will use fear as our weapon. We will establish their governments and establish opposites within. We will own both sides. We will always hide our objective, but carry out our plan. They will perform the labor for us, and we shall prosper from their toil. Our families will never mix with theirs. Our blood must always be pure, for it is the way. We will make them kill each other when it suits us. We will keep them separated from the oneness by dogma and religion. We will control all aspects of their lives and tell them what to think and how. We will guide them kindly and gently, letting them think they are guiding themselves. We will foment animosity between them through our factions. When a light shall shine upon them, we shall extinguish it by ridicule or death, whichever suits us best. We will make them rip each other's hearts apart and kill their own children. We will accomplish this by using hate as our ally, anger as our friend. The hate will blind them totally, and never shall they see that from their conflicts we emerge as their rulers. They will be busy killing each other. They will bathe in their own blood and kill their neighbors for as long as we see fit. We will benefit greatly from this, for they will not see us, for they cannot see us. We will continue to prosper from their wars and their deaths. We shall repeat this over and over and over until our ultimate goal is accomplished. We will continue to make them live in fear and anger through images and sounds. We will use all the tools we have to accomplish this. The tools will be provided by their labor. We will make them hate themselves and their neighbors. We will always hide the divine truth from them, that we are all one. This they must never know. They must never know that color is an illusion. They must always think that they are not equal. Drop by drop by drop, we will advance our goal. We will take over their land, resources, and wealth to exercise total control over them. We will deceive them into accepting laws that will steal the little freedom they will have. We will establish a monetary system that will imprison them forever, keeping them and their children in debt. When they shall band together, we shall accuse them of crimes and present a different story to the world, for we shall own all the media. We'll use our media to control the flow of information and the sentiment in our favor. When they shall rise up against us, we will crush them like insects, for they are less than that. They will be helpless to do anything, for they have no weapons. We will recruit some of their own to carry out our plans. We will promise them eternal life, but eternal life they will never have, for they are not of us. The recruits will be called initiates, and will be indoctrinated to believe false rites of passage to higher realms. Members of these groups will think that they are one with us, never knowing the truth. They must never learn this truth, for they will turn against us. For their work, they will be rewarded with earthly things and great titles, but they will never become immortal and join us. Never will they receive the light and travel the stars. They will never reach the higher realms, for killing their own kind will prevent passage to the realm of enlightenment. This they must never know. All right, there's a little bit more here, but I'm flat out running out of time here. I suggest you go online and do a search for The Secret Covenant. You'll be shocked at what you read. Because, as I just pointed out, some people will call it conspiracy theory. But if it's happening right in your face, right before your eyes, how can you possibly call it a theory? Anyway, my name is Dave Von Kleist. These are the WTF reports, and I'm pleased to have, this is going to be the first of hopefully many videos to come. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today's WTF reports. And if you're watching or listening on RedStateTalkRadio.com, please do business with our advertisers. You can go to TheWTFReports.com. And if you're listening on Rumble or BitChute or YouTube or Facebook or whatever, remember to always click like, share, subscribe, and by word of mouth, spread the word. And there are voices of sanity out here. So, until next time, folks, I thank you for your attention, and I hope that you spread the word. So until next time, God bless you all. Stay safe, stay free, and God willing, I'll see you again soon.